Hello everyone, this is a video about mold in the gut. Someone posted a question on one of my other videos and my computer was about to die, so I don't have it up in front of me here to read it verbatim, but it was to the effect of, I'm quite confident that I have mold in my gut. I'm thinking about taking Allicin. Is that something that would help to treat that? And would it be a good idea to take NAC as a biofilm disruptor? So thank you for the question. As per usual, I can't give any medical advice over social media. Everything I'm saying is for academic and informational purposes. If you need medical advice, please talk to your healthcare provider to get that advice. But speaking about this topic academically / for informational purposes only. So mold in the gut, it'd be interesting to know, sort of what things are going on that led to the conclusion that there's likely mold in the gut. And the reason I say that is because, to my knowledge, there's no commercially available diagnostic test to determine if somebody has mold in their gut. There have been a couple of studies where they've done cultures of small intestine contents and have found that they did indeed culture mold out of the guts of these folks. It's something, to my understanding, that's been very much understudied, and so we really don't know how prevalent that issue might be. Based on the available evidence at hand, I think it's quite a uncommon thing to come up. They found it in, I think just one person in this study of, I don't know, maybe 30 or 40 people that they were looking at the contents of their, see what they would culture out of their small intestines. So not very common in that study, but who knows what the overall numbers look like. So just as a point of reference for folks listening, if you're like, oh, intestinal mold, is that like a really common thing? Is that like the new SIBO or something like that? I think it's quite a rare thing, but it might be more common than we think. Allicin is, for folks who don't know, is an extract that's found in garlic. Garlic and onions, to my understanding, both contain something called Allicin, and that Allicin gets converted into allicin in the gut after this certain enzymatic reaction occurs. And that allicin has quite a strong anti-mold effect, anti-yeast effect, has an antiviral effect, so it's pretty good at killing stuff off. That's why some folks chew up like raw garlic cloves, for example, for antiviral effects during cold and flu season. One of the things that I always kind of wonder and question is when different supplement companies put garlic in different, put garlic as an ingredient in certain antimicrobial formulas, because based on what I just said, you might be thinking, why do you wonder about that? Garlic has these antimicrobial properties. The reason that I wonder about it is that, to my understanding, that Allicin substance is very, very light and temperature sensitive, light and oxygen sensitive. So inside of a garlic clove, the little green shoot that's in the middle of that garlic clove, that, to my understanding, is what contains all the Allicin. And once that Allicin is exposed to the outside world, you slice up your garlic, and especially if you cook it or dry it out, then to my understanding, that Allicin becomes it basically just degrades and breaks down. So while dried garlic has certain health principles to it, or properties to it, to my understanding, it doesn't really have notable antimicrobial properties anymore. So unless you get like a freeze-dried garlic, for example, or a specially preserved product, like there's a product called Allimax, or I believe in the States it's called Allimed, then I'm not sure that the garlic that might just be in a sort of a standard, like non-freeze-dried preparation is going to have a whole heck of a lot of that Allicin in it. So just a little point of reference. Allicin is not a go-to oral agent that I use a whole heck of a lot. I have used it a lot in my past clinical experience for different conditions like yeast overgrowth, also methane gas producing SIBO. Allicin is one of the agents that's typically commonly used to help address methane gas producing SIBO. The reason that I don't use the Allicin a whole heck of a lot is because when I've played with other antimicrobial agents in practice, I found that it certainly can work, but there are other agents that I found to be just more effective and, quite frankly, less expensive, because when you start getting into the freeze-dried garlic extracts, like some of them can get quite expensive. There are some more cost-effective brands that are out there nowadays, but I've just found that other agents seem to work better. Also, some people get kind of garlicky after breath and after burping and things, and so just had enough complaints about it. I was like, I need to find something else. So not really my go-to, but and when it comes to mold can be really, really tenacious. So in my practice, I would probably use something different than Allicin. I would be thinking about herbs like wormwood, black walnut, cloves, maybe oregano, especially if it's in the small intestine, oregano essential oil, thyme essential oil, and as per usual, I can't talk about dosages on social media because that could be construed as medical advice, so sorry. So please don't ask in the comment section, what kind of dose do I take, because I can't give medical advice over social media. So those are my thoughts about mold in the gut and allicin. And then the question about, the further part of the question about NAC as a biofilm disruptor. So with NAC, I've kind of heard mixed things about it from a biofilm disrupting perspective. Some folks say that it's a phase 1 biofilm disruptor, some say it's a phase 2 biofilm disruptor. In clinical practice, I really haven't seen NAC apparently work as a strong biofilm disruptor. I've put many patients on biofilm disruptors, and in many cases we have to really build up to that process. We get a good, robust antimicrobial regimen in place for a bit first to kill off all the microbes out in the open, then we gradually phase in the biofilm disruptor. And with many of the patients I've treated over time, as we're working on building up their antimicrobial regimen, they'll wind up going, not everybody, but a number of patients over the years have wound up going on NAC for some other purpose in the interim. Typically it's because they have a cold, so we're using that as an immunomodulator. I mean, in the last few years, a lot of folks were taking NAC as a supplement to help ward off or address COVID. And so like I've seen many patients go on NAC, and I don't see them developing all these biofilm breakdown side effect symptoms. I feel like if NAC was a really robust biofilm disruptor, we'd be seeing a lot more flare-ups from it, as we can and oftentimes do if there are ill-timed or just, despite our best efforts, turns out in hindsight it was ill-timed, strong biofilm disruption. So I personally think that NAC is quite mild in its biofilm disrupting activity, and so if I was going to put one of my patients on a robust biofilm disruptor, I would not use NAC. Nothing wrong with NAC. I love NAC. It's good at what it does. Just doesn't seem to be fantastic at breaking down biofilms, and so I would use one of the biofilm disruptors I've talked about in many of my other biofilm disrupting videos, which includes a combination of a bismuth R plus alpha lipoic dithiol complex, which is made by a compounding pharmacy, combined with either DMSA or DMPS, which is a chelating agent, or if we're using nasal biofilm disruptors, we usually use EDTA, along with typically EDTA, sometimes silver. So NAC, not at the top of my list. So thank you for the question. I hope this information was helpful. If anybody has any questions or comments about this topic or on this topic or anything else, please leave them in the comment section below, and otherwise I will leave it there for now.